Mama! Mama! The screams pierce through the pre-dawn darkness like shattered glass, and Alara Whitmore bolts upright in the narrow cot tucked in the corner of the servants' quarters. Her heart hammers against her ribs as 3 distinct voices, high, terrified, achingly young, shriek in unison from somewhere deep within Thornwall Manor. She's only been here 4 days. 4 days as the night nurse for the Crimson Court's royal household, and already she knows those screams. They come every morning, precisely 17 minutes before sunrise, like clockwork wound too tight. The other servants don't go to the children. They've learned not to. But Alara isn't like the other servants. Her bare feet hit the cold stone floor, and she's running before she's fully awake, her thin nightgown billowing behind her as she races through corridors lined with portraits of severe-faced vampires, whose eyes seem to follow her movement. The screams grow louder, more desperate, and underneath them she hears something else. A low, anguished growl that makes her blood run cold. She rounds the corner to the royal nursery and nearly collides with Severin Blackthorn himself. The Vampire King stands in the doorway, 6'4" of barely contained violence, his silver eyes blazing with something between rage and helplessness. His dark hair is disheveled, his white shirt unbuttoned and hanging loose, revealing the hard planes of his chest. His hands, those elegant, deadly hands she's watched sign execution orders and peace treaties with equal ease, are trembling. "Don't!" he snarls, but she's already pushing past him. The nursery is chaos. 3 small forms writhe in identical beds draped with crimson silk. Caspian, Lysander, and Vivian, 5-year-old triplets with their father's silver eyes and their late mother's dark curls. They're screaming, backs arched at impossible angles, small hands clawing at the sheets. "Please," Caspian sobs, tears streaming down his flushed cheeks. "It hurts, Papa. It hurts." 2 other nurses, stern-faced vampire women in crisp uniforms, stand helplessly by the window, measuring powders into crystal glasses. They don't even look up when Alara enters. "The sedatives will take effect shortly, Your Majesty," the older one says in a flat, practiced voice, "as they do every morning." "Get out." Severin's voice is barely human. The 2 nurses bow quickly and sweep from the room, their skirts whispering against stone. Alara realizes she should probably follow them. She's the newest, the lowest ranked, just a human woman hired because she was cheap and desperate and willing to work nights. Instead, she moves to Caspian's bed and kneels beside it. "Hey, sweetheart," she murmurs, keeping her voice low and steady. "I'm here. I'm right here." "Who authorized you?" Severin begins, but Caspian's hand shoots out and grabs Alara's wrist with surprising strength. "Don't go," the little boy gasps. "Don't leave like Mama did." The words hit the room like a thunderclap. Severin goes absolutely still. Alara's heart breaks a little. She's pieced together the story from kitchen gossip. Queen Isadora, dead 6 months now. Some illness the vampire healers couldn't cure. 3 children left behind, and a king drowning in grief and rage. "I'm not going anywhere," Alara promises. She places her free hand on Caspian's back, meaning to soothe him. But the moment her palm makes contact, she feels it. A hardness under his thin nightshirt. Something wrong. Something foreign. Caspian screams louder. Alara's mind races. She worked trauma in a field hospital before, back when she still had a nursing license, before her ex-husband destroyed her career along with everything else. She knows pain. She knows bodies. This isn't normal pain. This is something physical. Something acute. "Your Majesty," she says, not taking her eyes off Caspian. "When did this start? These dawn screams?" Severin stands frozen in the doorway, backlit by the corridor's torches. For a moment she thinks he won't answer. Why would he? She's nothing. Nobody. A human nurse hired for $17 an hour because vampire nurses cost too much, and his royal treasury is somehow depleted. 6 months, he finally says, his voice raw. The day after Isadora died. The day after the Queen died. Alara's fingers move carefully along Caspian's spine, feather-light. The boy whimpers, but doesn't pull away. There, she feels it again. A hardness, multiple hard points actually, lodged along the vertebrae. She moves to Lysander's bed. The middle triplet is quieter than his brother, his screams dissolved into hitching sobs. She touches his back and finds the same thing. Then Vivian, the little girl, has her face buried in her pillow, her whole body rigid with agony. Same hardness, same placement. Has anyone examined them physically? Alara asks. Actually touched their backs during the episodes? 7 healers have seen them. Severin's voice is bitter. Vampire specialists, the best in the realm. They all said the same thing, psychosomatic trauma from losing their mother. They prescribed sedatives and time. But no one touched them. They screamed when anyone tried. They're not screaming now. Severin's silver eyes snap to where Alara's hand rests on Vivian's back. It's true. The little girl's sobs have quieted to sniffles. She's turned her face slightly, watching Alara with wide, wondering eyes. Mama used to touch like that, Vivian whispers. Soft. Alara's throat tightens. She keeps her voice professional. Your Majesty, I need better light, and I need your permission to examine them properly. For a long moment, Severin doesn't move. The pre-dawn shadows make him look carved from marble, beautiful and terrible and utterly alone. Then he steps into the room and waves his hand. Every candle blazes to life simultaneously, flooding the nursery with warm light. Do whatever you need to do, he says quietly. Please. That last word costs him. Alara can see it in the tension of his jaw, the way his hands curl into fists. Kings don't say please, especially not vampire kings who command armies and control territories the size of small countries. But fathers do. Desperate fathers do. Alara moves to the window and pulls back the heavy curtains. Not enough to let in direct sunlight, but enough to illuminate the room with pre-dawn gray. She returns to Caspian first because he's the most vocal, the most obviously in pain. Sweetheart, I'm going to lift your shirt. I'll be very gentle, but I need to see your back. Caspian nods, his small face streaked with tears and snot. He's trying so hard to be brave. Alara eases the silk nightshirt up, revealing the pale skin of his back, and her breath catches. There, along the spine, from shoulder blades to lower back, are multiple small puncture marks. Some are old, silvered with scar tissue, but others are fresh, the skin around them inflamed and angry. Your Majesty, Alara says carefully. Come look at this. Severin crosses the room in 3 strides. He looks down at his son's back and goes absolutely white, which is saying something, given Vampire's naturally pale complexion. Those weren't there before, he breathes. I bathed them myself 3 nights ago. I would have seen... They're coming up through the skin. Alara traces the air above the marks, not touching, like the body trying to expel something. Foreign objects lodged deep. Your Majesty, has anyone... Could someone have hurt the children? Deliberately? The temperature in the room drops 10 degrees. Severin's power fills the space, ancient, dangerous, barely leashed. If someone touched my children, they would already be dead. No one gets near them without being vetted. No one. Then it happened before you increased security. Before the Queen died, maybe. Isadora would never... He stops, takes a breath. She loved them. Everything she did was for them. The pieces are clicking together in Alara's mind, forming a picture she doesn't want to see but can't ignore. How did the Queen die, exactly? Poison. The word is flat, factual. Silver poisoning. She lingered for 3 days before the end. Silver. The marks on the children's backs. The timing. May I try something? Alara asks. I can't promise it will work, but... Anything. Severin cuts her off. I told you. Anything. Alara hurries to her small bag by the door. She carries it everywhere, a habit from her old life. Inside are the basic supplies she's hoarded: alcohol wipes, gauze, and a pair of fine-tipped tweezers she kept from the field hospital. Sterilized and carefully maintained because old habits die hard. She returns to Caspian's bed and kneels again. "Sweetheart, this might hurt a bit more at first, but then it should feel better. Can you be brave for me?" Caspian looks at his father. Severin moves to the other side of the bed and takes his son's hand, and Alara's heart does something complicated in her chest because this feared vampire king, this creature who could crush her with one hand, is holding his child's fingers so gently, so carefully. "I'm here," Severin murmurs. "Papa's here." Alara sterilizes the tweezers with shaking hands. In the growing light, she can see the tip of something beneath the most inflamed puncture mark, something that gleams silver. She positions the tweezers carefully, says a prayer to whatever god might be listening, and probes the wound. Caspian gasps but doesn't scream. Severin's free hand grips the bed frame hard enough to crack wood. The tweezers close around something solid. Alara pulls, steady and sure, and a tiny fragment of metal slides free from Caspian's skin. It's maybe a 1/4 inch long, shaped like a needle, made of pure silver. The moment it's out, Caspian sags against the mattress, like a puppet with cut strings. "Oh," he breathes. "Oh, it stopped." Alara stares at the fragment gleaming against the silver tweezers. There are more. At least 6 more in Caspian alone. Double that in each of the others, probably. Severin's voice is deadly quiet. "Someone put silver into my children's spines. Not just silver. These are shaped, manufactured. They're designed to migrate through tissue, working their way up over time. Whoever did this planned for them to surface right around now, 6 months after being inserted. Who would—" Severin stops. His face goes from white to gray. "The healers. The ones who examined Isadora during her final days. They had access to the children. They said they were giving them preventive treatments, checking to ensure they hadn't been exposed to the same poison." Alara's hands are shaking now, but she forces herself to stay calm. How many fragments did they remove from the queen? They didn't. They said the silver had dissolved into her bloodstream, that there was nothing to remove. "Silver doesn't dissolve in blood, Your Majesty. It oxidizes. It stays solid." She meets his eyes. "I think someone wanted the queen dead, and I think they wanted the children to follow, slowly and painfully, while everyone believed they were simply traumatized by grief. The silence that follows is absolute. Even the children have gone quiet, watching their father with wide eyes. When Severin finally speaks, his voice could shatter diamonds. "Names. I want names of every healer who touched my family. Your Majesty," Alara says carefully, "right now, your children are in pain. The rest can wait an hour. Let me remove these fragments while I still have good light." For a moment she thinks she's pushed too far. She's just a human nurse, after all, telling a vampire king to wait for his revenge. But Severin looks at Caspian, at the way his son is already breathing easier, and nods slowly. "Do it," he says. "I'll stay with them." And he does. For the next 45 minutes, as Alara moves methodically from child to child, removing tiny silver fragments from their spines, Severin Blackthorn stays. He holds their hands. He murmurs encouragement. He sings lullabies in a language Alara doesn't recognize, ancient and beautiful. By the time she extracts the final fragment from Vivian's back, 12 pieces total from each child, 36 instruments of slow murder, the sun has risen fully. Golden light streams through the gaps in the curtains, and for the first time since Alara arrived at Thornwall Manor, the dawn comes without screaming. The triplets are asleep, genuinely asleep, their faces peaceful in a way that makes Alara's eyes sting. She stands slowly, her knees aching from kneeling so long. The 36 silver fragments are arranged on a clean cloth on the side table, gleaming evidence of treachery. Severin rises too. He towers over her, and Alara is suddenly very aware that she's in her nightgown. that her red hair is loose and tangled, that she probably smells like fear sweat and cheap soap. "You saved them," he says simply. You saved them when no one else could, when I couldn't." His silver eyes are blazing, but not with anger now, with something else. Something that makes heat bloom in her chest. "What's your full name?" "Alara Whitmore, Your Majesty." "Your credentials?" Her stomach drops. Here it comes, the part where he learns she's a fraud, that she lost her nursing license in the divorce, that she's not qualified to be here at all. I don't currently hold an active license. I was trained. I worked trauma for 5 years, but I don't care." He steps closer, and she can smell him now. Cedar and smoke and something wild. "You did what 7 certified healers with centuries of experience couldn't do. You listened to my children. You saw what needed to be seen. Credentials are just paper." Alara's throat is tight. "Thank you, Your Majesty." "Severin." The word is soft. "When you just saved my children's lives, I think you can call me Severin." Before she can respond, he's turning away, that cold mask slamming back into place. "Stay with them while they sleep. I have to. I have business to attend to." She knows what that business is. She's heard the stories about what happens to those who betray the Crimson Court. Part of her thinks she should protest, should advocate for trials and evidence and due process. But she looks at the 36 silver fragments, at the 3 sleeping children who have been suffering for 6 months, and she says nothing. Severin pauses at the door. "When they wake, they'll be hungry. Ring for whatever they want, no restrictions. And get yourself some food, too. You look half-starved." Then he's gone, and Alara is alone with the triplets and the rising sun and the strange, terrifying feeling that her life just changed in ways she can't begin to understand. She sinks into the chair between the beds and closes her eyes, just for a moment. When she opens them again, it's afternoon. Vivian is sitting up in bed, watching her with those unsettling silver eyes. "You stayed," the little girl says. "I promised I would." "Mama promised too, but she left." Alara's heart clenches. She moves to sit on the edge of Vivian's bed, moving slowly, letting the child decide if she wants distance. Instead, Vivian leans into her, small and warm and trusting. "Your mama didn't want to leave," Alara says softly. "Sometimes people don't get to keep their promises, no matter how much they want to." "Are you going to leave too?" "Not today." "Tomorrow?" "Not if you don't want me to." Vivian considers this seriously. Then she reaches under her pillow and pulls out a small wooden figurine, a horse carved with exquisite detail. "Mama made this for me. She was going to make one for my brothers, too, but she got sick." The figurine is beautiful, clearly crafted with love and skill. Alara turns it over in her hands, noting the way the queen carved each individual hair in the mane. "Your mama was very talented. Papa won't let anyone talk about her. He gets too sad." Alara files that information away. Being sad is okay sometimes. "Are you sad?" Vivian asks with the directness of children. "Sometimes. Are you?" "Yes. My back doesn't hurt anymore, but I still miss Mama." "Those are 2 different kinds of pain," Alara says gently. "The back pain I can help with. The missing Mama pain just takes time, but it does get easier." "Promise?" Alara thinks about her own losses, her marriage, her career, her parents who died when she was barely 20. She thinks about how the sharp edges of grief eventually smooth into something bearable, like sea glass. "I promise." Lysander and Caspian wake shortly after, and the change in them is remarkable. They're still pale, still thin, but they sit up without screaming. They smile when Alara asks what they want for lunch. They bicker over who gets to tell her about their toys, their lessons, their father's impressive sword collection. They're just children again. Alara rings for food, and when a servant appears, a nervous vampire woman who can't meet her eyes, she orders everything the children suggest. Sweet cakes and blood oranges and warm bread with honey. The servant's eyes go wide. The children are on restricted diets, miss. The healer's orders. The healers don't work here anymore, Alara says firmly, with more authority than she feels. The children will eat what they like. The servant bows and hurries away. 20 minutes later, the food arrives on silver trays. Real silver, probably worth more than Alara made in a year at her last job. The children eat like they're starving, which they probably are. Alara picks at a piece of bread, but mostly watches them, her heart full and aching simultaneously. She doesn't see Severin again until evening. The triplets are bathed and dressed in fresh nightclothes, playing a complicated game involving toy soldiers, and a lot of dramatic sound effects. Alara is watching from her chair, exhausted but content, when the king appears in the doorway. He's changed clothes, now in full, formal attire, black on black, with his silver court insignia at his throat. His hair is pulled back severely. He looks every inch the vampire king, cold and untouchable. Except his eyes go soft when he sees his children playing. "Papa!" Caspian launches himself at his father. Severin catches him easily, swinging him up despite the fact that he's dressed for state functions. "You're supposed to be in bed," Severin says, "but there's no heat in it." "We feel good," Lysander announces. "Miss Alara fixed us." All three children turn to look at her, and Severin's gaze follows. Alara suddenly wishes she'd had time to do something with her hair, to change out of the simple dress she borrowed from the servants' quarters. Miss Alara did, indeed. Severin's voice is formal, but something flickers in his expression. "Which is why I've come to discuss her new position." Alara blinks. "Your Majesty? You're no longer the night nurse. As of this morning, you're head of Royal Health Services, in charge of all medical care for the royal family." He says it like he's commenting on the weather. "Salary is adjusted accordingly, standard noble rate. You'll have your own quarters in the family wing, a staff of your choosing." The room spins slightly. Your Majesty, I'm not qualified. You saved my children's lives." His voice drops lower. "You saw what needed to be seen when no one else would look. That's qualification enough." "What about the healers who dealt with—" The words are clipped. "There will be a formal inquiry, but the primary conspirators have confessed. They were being paid by House Corvain to eliminate the royal line slowly, making it look like natural causes. House Corvain. My uncle's house." Severin's face could be carved from ice. He felt he should have inherited the throne instead of me. Apparently, he decided to correct that through the death of my family. The casual way he says it makes Alara's blood run cold. "And your uncle is standing trial before the Grand Council at this very moment. The execution is scheduled for tomorrow at sunset." Vivian tugs on Alara's skirt. "Will you stay now? Please?" Alara looks at the little girl, then at her brothers, then at Severin. The king is watching her with an intensity that should be frightening, but somehow isn't. There's vulnerability in his expression, carefully hidden but present. He's not ordering her. He's asking. "I'll stay," she says, "for as long as you need me." Something in Severin's face shifts. Relief, maybe, or something deeper. "Good. Your things from the servants' quarters are being moved now. Someone will show you to your new rooms after the children are asleep." He should leave then. He's clearly dressed for some important function, but he lingers. He sits on the floor with his children. His expensive clothes be damned, and plays toy soldiers with them until their eyelids grow heavy. Alara watches this feared vampire king build elaborate fortresses for his sons to knock down, and something warm unfurls in her chest. Something dangerous. When the children are finally asleep, peaceful, pain-free sleep, Severin stands and gestures for Alara to follow him into the corridor. "Thank you," he says quietly. "I don't know if I said that properly before. Thank you for giving me back my children." "You don't need to thank me, Your Majesty. Severin." He steps closer, and she can feel the cool power radiating from him. "I told you, call me Severin." "That wouldn't be appropriate." Nothing about this situation is appropriate. A ghost of a smile touches his lips. A human nurse with no license just became the highest-ranking medical authority in the Crimson Court. I think we're past appropriate. Alara can't help it. She laughs. It's soft and slightly hysterical, but it's real. Fair point. Severin, he insists. Severin, she repeats, and his name tastes like honey and smoke on her tongue. They stand there in the corridor, too close, the air between them charged with something neither of them is ready to name. Finally, Severin steps back. Get some rest. Tomorrow will be complicated. There will be questions about how you discovered what the healers missed. Some members of court will be suspicious. Should I be worried? His eyes flash dangerously. No one will touch you. I'll make that very clear. The possessiveness in his voice should probably concern her. Instead, it sends heat curling through her belly. Good night, Your Majesty, she says, deliberately using the formal address. His smile is sharp and knowing. Good night, Alara. Her new quarters are absurdly luxurious. A full suite with a bedroom, sitting room, and private bath. The bed alone is bigger than her entire room in the servants' quarters. Her meager possessions look lost in the vast wardrobe. She should sleep. She's exhausted down to her bones. But instead, she sits at the window and looks out over the grounds of Thornwall Manor as night deepens. Somewhere in the castle, a vampire king is passing judgment on the uncle who tried to murder his children. Somewhere, the mechanisms of vampire politics are grinding into motion, complicated and deadly. And here she is, Alara Whitmore, failed nurse, divorced, broke, desperate, somehow thrust into the center of it all. She thinks about her ex-husband, about how he systematically destroyed her career because she dared to leave him, how he spread lies about her competence, forged complaints, got her license revoked, how she spent 2 years fighting and losing until she had nothing left but her knowledge and her determination. He wanted her to disappear, to fade into nothing. Instead, she just saved 3 royal children and caught the attention of a vampire king. Alara smiles into the darkness. Then she finally lets herself sleep. The next 3 weeks pass in a blur of new responsibilities. Alara reorganizes the medical wing, interviews potential staff, establishes new protocols. She examines the triplets daily, monitoring the healing puncture wounds and documenting everything meticulously. The children follow her everywhere. They hold her hands during walks in the garden. They demand she sit with them during lessons. They call her Miss Alara, in voices full of affection and trust. She doesn't let herself think about what it means that she's falling in love with them. That's dangerous territory. Almost as dangerous as the way she catches Severin watching her sometimes. He's busy, more so after his uncle's execution and the subsequent purge of House Corvain's sympathizers. But he makes time for his children, and by extension, for Alara. He joins them for dinner most evenings. He asks her opinion on medical matters, then on other things. Politics, history, her thoughts on the renovations to the East Wing. He treats her like she matters, like her voice has weight. It's intoxicating and terrifying in equal measure. 3 weeks after she removed the silver fragments, Alara is in the medical wing organizing supplies when Lady Morgana enters. Lady Morgana is everything Alara is not. Vampire nobility, centuries old, beautiful in that cold, perfect way vampires have. She's on the Grand Council and has been a fixture at court since before Alara was born. She's also been making her interest in Severin extremely clear since Queen Isadora died. So, Morgana says, her voice like silk over razors, you're the little human who's caused such a stir. Alara straightens, keeping her expression neutral. Lady Morgana, how can I help you? You can explain how a nurse with no license managed to diagnose what 7 qualified healers missed. Morgana examines her nails, perfectly manicured, painted deep red. Some on the council find it quite suspicious. I examined the children physically. The other healers didn't. How convenient that you found evidence of a conspiracy right when you needed to prove your worth. The implication hits like a slap. You think I planted the fragments? I think you're a desperate human woman who stumbled into an opportunity and seized it. Morgana's smile is sharp. I'm not judging. It's actually quite clever. Insinuate yourself with the children, gain the king's gratitude, secure your position. Well played. Ilara's hands clench into fists. The children were suffering. That's all that mattered. Of course. Morgana moves closer, and Ilara can smell her perfume. Expensive. Cloying. But now that they're healed, there's really no need for you to remain so close to the family, is there? I'm sure His Majesty can find a generous severance package, enough to set you up comfortably somewhere far from court. Are you trying to pay me to leave? I'm suggesting that you've done your job admirably, and now it's time to step back, before you get hurt. The last words carry an edge of threat. Human women don't last long at vampire courts. They're too fragile, too temporary. Before Ilara can respond, a cold voice cuts through the room. Lady Morgana. Severin stands in the doorway, and the temperature drops 20 degrees. He's in fighting leathers today, which means he's been training, and there's something predatory in his stance. Your Majesty. Morgana's voice is suddenly honey-sweet. I was just speaking with your nurse about... I heard what you were speaking about. He moves into the room with that liquid grace vampires have. And I'll make this clear for you and anyone else who's confused. Ilara Whitmore stays as long as she wishes. Her position is not temporary. Her value is not negotiable. She has my complete protection and favor. Is that understood? Morgana's face goes carefully blank. Of course, Your Majesty. I meant no disrespect. Didn't you? Severin's smile is all teeth. Because it sounded like you were threatening someone under my protection. And we both know what happens to those who threaten what's mine. The possessiveness in those last words makes Ilara's breath catch. Morgana clearly hears it too. Her eyes narrow before she masks the expression. My apologies, Your Majesty. I'll leave you to your conversation. She sweeps from the room, her skirts rustling like snake scales. Silence fills the space she left. Ilara realizes she's shaking slightly. Are you all right? Severin asks, his voice gentler now. I'm fine. You didn't have to. Yes, I did. He moves closer and she can see tension in his shoulders. Morgana is ambitious and dangerous. She's been positioning herself as the obvious choice for Queen since before Isadora was cold in the ground. And you're not interested? I'm not interested in political marriages anymore. Something flickers in his expression. Once was enough. Ilara absorbs this. You didn't love the Queen? She expects him to shut down, to retreat behind that cold mask. Instead, he sighs and leans against the supply cabinet. I respected Isadora. We were friends in our way. But love? He shakes his head. It was arranged when we were both young. Good for both houses, good for the realm. She did her duty. She gave me 3 incredible children. But we didn't... You were lonely, Ilara says softly. His eyes snap to hers, silver and startled. Yes, how did you... I recognize it. I was married to someone I didn't love too. It's a particular kind of loneliness, living with someone and still being alone. They look at each other, and something shifts in the air. Understanding. Recognition. Your ex-husband, Severin says. The one who destroyed your career. Would you like me to destroy him? He says it so casually that it takes Ilara a moment to process. Then she laughs, shocked and slightly horrified and weirdly touched. That's very kind, but no. The offer stands. His smile is dark. I'm very good at destroying people. I've noticed, but I don't need you to fight my battles. What if I want to? The question hangs between them. Ilara knows she should step back, should maintain professional distance. This is her employer. This is a vampire king. This is dangerous on 17 different levels. Instead, she says, why? Because you saved my children. Because you see them as people, not political assets. Because you're brilliant and brave, and you don't back down even when you're terrified. He pauses. And because when I see you with them, when I see them happy again, I feel something I thought I'd lost forever. What's that? Hope. The word is barely a whisper. Alara's heart hammers against her ribs. Severin! The door bursts open. Caspian runs in, followed closely by his siblings. Papa! Miss Alara! The boy is breathless with excitement. Come quick! There's a rainbow in the garden and it's making colors on everything. The moment shatters, but not unpleasantly. Severin's expression softens as he looks at his son. A rainbow requires investigation, he says seriously. Lead the way. The children grab their hands. Caspian takes his father's. Vivian and Lysander each claim one of Alara's and tug them toward the garden. They must look ridiculous, Alara thinks. A vampire king and a human nurse being dragged by 3 excited children to see a rainbow. No dignity, no formality, just family. The thought strikes her like lightning. This feels like family. The rainbow is indeed spectacular, arcing across the garden and casting prismatic light across the white roses. The children run through it, squealing with delight, trying to catch the colors. Alara realizes she's still holding Severin's hand. She's not sure when that happened, when the children released them, but they didn't release each other. She should pull away. She doesn't. Thank you, Severin says quietly, watching his children play. For what? For giving them this. Joy. Childhood. For giving me this. He squeezes her hand gently. For making us a family again. Alara's eyes sting with tears she refuses to shed. They're easy to love. Is that all? She knows what he's really asking. She should be cautious, should protect herself. But she's spent so much of her life being careful, being small, letting fear make her decisions. She's tired of it. No, she admits. That's not all. His smile could light up the darkness. Good. Because I'm planning to court you, Alara Whitmore. Properly. With all the ridiculous vampire courtship traditions. I'll commission terrible poetry, and serenade you under your window, and challenge anyone who looks at you wrong to duels. That sounds excessive. I'm a king. Excessive is expected. He turns to face her fully, still holding her hand. But I'll do it at whatever pace you need. If you want space, I'll give you space. If you want time, we have eternity. Whatever you need to feel safe. Safe. When was the last time anyone offered her that? I'm human, she points out. We don't have eternity. Something fierce enters his expression. There are ways. If you wanted. Eventually. But that's a conversation for much later. He's talking about turning her. Making her vampire. The possibility steals her breath. 1 step at a time, she manages. 1 step at a time, he agrees. Miss Alara, Vivian calls. Come see. The rainbow is touching the fountain, Ilara goes, and Severin follows, and for the next hour they are simply 2 adults watching children play. They stand close enough that their shoulders brush. Their hands find each other again. It's not a declaration. It's not a dramatic kiss or a sweeping romantic gesture. It's better. It's real. That evening, there's a formal dinner with the Grand Council. Severin insists Alara attend. I don't have anything to wear, she protests. Taken care of. He gestures to her quarters, where 3 gorgeous gowns now hang in her wardrobe, deep green, midnight blue, and crimson red. Pick whichever you like. Alara chooses the green because it reminds her of the forest near her childhood home. It fits perfectly, which means Severin had it made specifically for her. The thought makes her blush. A servant arrives to help with her hair, piling it into an elegant updo that makes her look sophisticated and older and very unlike herself. Another brings jewelry, nothing ostentatious, just a simple silver necklace with an emerald pendant. When she finally looks in the mirror, she barely recognizes herself. The dinner is held in the great hall, with 20 council members seated at a massive table. Alara is placed at Severin's right hand, the position traditionally reserved for the consort. The message is clear. Lady Morgana, seated much further down, looks like she's tasted poison. The meal proceeds with the usual political small talk. Alara mostly stays quiet, listening and learning. These vampires have centuries of experience at court politics. She's not going to outsmart them at their own game. But when Lord Cassius, a pompous vampire with elaborate facial hair, makes a comment about the human who got lucky, she feels Severin go tense beside her. Actually, Alara says pleasantly, it wasn't luck. It was basic medical competence combined with the willingness to actually examine the patients rather than making assumptions. The table goes quiet. Lord Cassius sputters. I meant no offense, didn't you? Alara sets down her wine glass. Because it seems like there's been a lot of speculation about how I discovered the silver fragments. Questions about my competence, suggestions that I somehow fabricated evidence. So let me be very clear. I did my job. I examined 3 children in pain, found the cause, and removed it. If that threatens you, perhaps you should examine why. You could hear a pin drop. Severin is smiling behind his wineglass. Lady Morgana leans forward. You speak very boldly for someone so new to court. I speak honestly. I thought that was valued here. Honesty is valued, Severin says quietly, as is loyalty, competence, the willingness to do what's right rather than what's political. He looks around the table. Ilara Whitmore has demonstrated all of those qualities. She has my complete trust and favor. I suggest you all remember that. The message is unmistakable. Lord Cassius bows his head in acknowledgement. Lady Morgana's smile is sharp and cold, but several other council members look thoughtful. An older vampire woman named Lady Thorne actually nods approvingly. Well said, Your Majesty, Lady Thorne says. Perhaps it's time we had fresh perspectives at court. People who haven't forgotten that power is meant to serve, not just to take. The conversation shifts after that, moving to safer topics like trade agreements and border patrols. But Alara can feel the undercurrents, alliances forming and breaking, calculations being made. She's been marked now. Some will support her because she has the king's favor. Others will see her as a threat to be eliminated. Welcome to vampire politics. After dinner, Severin walks her back to her quarters. His hand rests at the small of her back, a gesture of protection and possession that makes her hyper-aware of every place they're touching. You handled that well, he says. I probably should have kept my mouth shut. No, you stood up for yourself. That matters here. Weakness is blood in the water, but strength? His smile is approving. Strength is respected. They stop at her door. The corridor is empty, lit by flickering torches that cast dancing shadows. Ilara, Severin says softly. I meant what I said earlier, about courting you properly, but I want you to know, there's no pressure. You're not obligated to return my feelings. Your position is secure regardless. She should thank him and go inside. She should be sensible. Instead, she rises on her toes and kisses his cheek, just a brief press of her lips against cool skin. Good night, Severin. When she dares to look at him, his expression is stunned and delighted and hungry, all at once. Good night, Alara. She slips into her quarters before she does something more reckless. Her heart is racing, and she can't stop smiling. This is insane. She knows it's insane. She's falling for a vampire king. She's getting involved in court politics. She's risking everything for a man she barely knows, and 3 children who aren't hers. But God, it feels right. The next morning, she wakes to find a gift outside her door. A leather-bound medical journal, clearly old and valuable. Inside the cover, in elegant handwriting, for the brilliant healer who saved my family. May you fill these pages with discoveries that change the world. A.S. Alara clutches the journal to her chest and lets herself feel it. The joy, the hope, the terrifying possibility of happiness. Then she gets dressed and goes to check on the triplets, because that's what she does now. She cares for them. She heals them. She loves them. The children are already awake, playing in their room. They light up when they see her. Miss Alara! Lysander runs over. Papa said we can have a picnic today if the weather is nice. Will you come? I wouldn't miss it. They spend the morning in lessons. Alara sitting quietly in the corner while a stern tutor attempts to teach them mathematics. Caspian keeps sneaking her conspiratorial glances when he gets an answer right. Vivian draws pictures in the margins of her work. One is clearly meant to be Alara, with her red hair and green dress. Alara's heart melts a little more. Lunch is indeed a picnic in the garden. Severin joins them, still in his formal council robes, because apparently he had meetings all morning. But he sits on the blanket with grass staining his expensive clothes and helps Vivian construct an elaborate sandwich. "Papa," Caspian says suddenly, "are you going to marry Miss Alara?" Alara chokes on her tea. Severin doesn't even blink. "Would you like me to?" he asks his son seriously. "Yes." Caspian is very definite. "She makes you smile. You didn't smile much after Mama died. And she's nice," Vivian adds. "And she smells good." "Very important criteria," Severin says gravely. He glances at Alara, silver eyes dancing with amusement. "What do you think, Miss Alara? Do I pass the smell test?" She's blushing so hard she might combust. "This is not an appropriate conversation. You smell like the library," Lysander announces. "Books and candle wax. I like it." "See?" Severin grins. "I've been approved by the toughest critics." "You're impossible," Alara mutters. "Is that a yes?" Vivian asks hopefully. "It's a we'll see," Alara manages. "These things take time." "But not too much time," Caspian says seriously, "because we're not getting any younger." Severin laughs, a real laugh, full and rich. Alara realizes she's never heard him laugh like that before. It transforms him, makes him look younger, almost carefree. "Wise words," he tells his son. "I'll keep that in mind." The rest of the afternoon passes in comfortable chaos. The children play tag and nearly upend the picnic basket twice. Severin teaches them a complicated clapping game from his own childhood. Alara braids flowers into Vivian's hair. It's perfect. It's everything. As the sun starts to set, meaning Severin and the children need to get inside soon, Alara helps pack up the picnic supplies. Severin catches her hand. "Thank you," he says quietly. "For today. For all of it. Stop thanking me. I'm exactly where I want to be." His smile could light up the world. "Good, because I'm not letting you go." That evening, after the children are in bed, Alara is in the medical wing reviewing supply inventories when Lady Thorne appears. The older vampire looks less severe outside of formal council settings. She settles into a chair without being invited, studying Alara with sharp eyes. "You're making quite the impression, child." "I'm just doing my job, Lady Thorne." "No, you're not. If you were just doing your job, you'd have removed the fragments and stayed in your lane. Instead, you challenged Lord Cassius at dinner. You're allowing the king to court you. You're inserting yourself into the royal family." She pauses. "You're either very brave or very foolish. Can't I be both?" Lady Thorne's laugh is dry and genuine. "I like you. That's rare. I don't like many people." "Should I be honored or concerned?" "Both." The vampire leans forward. "Let me give you some advice. Human to, well, human who might not stay human much longer. The court is full of people like Morgana. Vampires who see relationships as transactions, who calculate every move. They don't understand what you and Severin have, because it's not political. It's real." "What do we have?" Alara asks softly. "A second chance. Both of you." Lady Thorne's expression is surprisingly gentle. "Severin was dying slowly before you came. Oh, he functioned. He ruled. But he was hollow. And you were hiding. Surviving, but not living. The accuracy of that hits like a punch. How do you... I'm 800 years old, child. I've seen patterns. I've watched people." She stands. "You're good for him. Good for those children. Don't let the vipers at court convince you otherwise. And if anyone gives you trouble, you come to me. I have a certain reputation for making problems disappear." The offer is both comforting and terrifying. "Thank you, Lady Thorne." "Call me Vivian. If you're going to be family, we might as well use names." Family. There's that word again. After Lady Thorne, Vivian leaves. Alara sits in the quiet medical wing and lets herself think about it. About family. About belonging. About the possibility of a future she never imagined. 6 weeks ago, she was scrubbing floors in a rundown boarding house, sending out applications for jobs she'd never get, wondering if she'd ever be more than a footnote in someone else's story. Now she's the head of Royal Health Services. She's the Vampire King's... what? Girlfriend feels too small. Intended feels too formal. She's the woman who makes him smile. The woman his children love. The woman who's being offered a place at his side. It's terrifying. It's wonderful. She's still sitting there when Severin finds her an hour later. "You look contemplative," he observes, leaning against the doorframe. "Just thinking. About? About how strange life is, how 6 weeks can change everything." He moves into the room, settling into the chair beside her. "Having second thoughts?" "No, just processing. This isn't the life I expected." "Is that bad?" "No." She turns to face him. "It's good. Scary, but good." They sit in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Severin says, "My council wants me to remarry. Soon. They think the throne looks weak without a queen." Alara's stomach drops. "Oh. I told them I'm working on it." His smile is soft, but that these things can't be rushed. That I'm courting someone remarkable, and she deserves time to be sure. "Am I? Sure? Are you?" Alara thinks about Caspian's laughter, about Vivian's trust, about Lysander's quiet questions, about the way Severin looks at her like she's precious, about feeling useful and valued and seen. "Yes," she says. "I'm sure, but I'm also scared." Of what? Of being temporary, of waking up one day and realizing this was all a dream, of not being enough. The confession costs her, but she forces it out. "I'm human, Severin. I'll age, I'll die, and you'll still be here, forever young, probably forgetting I ever existed." His face goes very still. Then he reaches out and takes both her hands in his. "Elara Whitmore, listen to me. You saved my children when no one else could. You brought joy back into this house. You make me want to be better, not just as a king, but as a man, as a father. You're brilliant and brave and stubborn and kind. And if you think I could ever forget you, you haven't been paying attention. But there are ways, if you wanted them. Turning is one option, but not the only one. There are spells, potions, bargains with ancient powers. We have time to explore them all, to find what works for you." He squeezes her hands gently. "But even if you stayed human, even if I only had you for 50 years, I would treasure every moment. You're not temporary, Alara. You're essential." Tears slide down her cheeks. "You really mean that? I really mean that." He brushes away her tears with his thumbs. "So what do you say? Want to help me scandalize the court by actually marrying for love?" She laughs through her tears. "Is that a proposal?" "Not yet. When I propose, it will be properly romantic. Probably embarrassingly so. The children are already planning." His smile is rueful. "Apparently there need to be horses and fireworks and some kind of treasure hunt involved." "That does sound embarrassing." "They're very determined." He pauses. "But I am serious, Alara. I want a future with you, however that looks. Whatever you need." She kisses him then. Really kisses him, not just a chaste peck. His lips are cool against hers, and he tastes like night air and possibility. He responds carefully at first, then deeper, one hand coming up to cup her face. When they break apart, they're both breathing hard. "Was that a yes?" he asks. "That was a, I'm willing to try, to see where this goes." "I'll take it." They sit together in the medical wing, holding hands, talking about nothing and everything. He tells her about growing up in the court, about the weight of expectations. She tells him about her parents' death, about the slow destruction of her marriage, about rebuilding herself from nothing. They share secrets and dreams and fears. They build the foundation that relationships need, not just attraction, but understanding. It's well past midnight when Severin finally stands. I should let you sleep. The children will wake early. They always do, now that they're pain-free. Severin? She catches his hand. Thank you for seeing me, for giving me a chance. Thank you for taking it. He lifts her hand to his lips, pressing a kiss to her knuckles in an old-fashioned gesture that makes her heart flutter. Sweet dreams, Alara. She dreams of rainbows and laughter and silver eyes. The next few months pass like a fairy tale. Severin courts her with old-world romance, poetry that's actually quite good, flowers delivered daily, elaborate dates that somehow always end in comfortable conversation. He introduces her to the court formally, making it clear she's under his protection. Most of the nobles accept it. Some even warm to her, appreciating her directness and competence. Lady Morgana remains hostile, but she's outvoted and outmaneuvered at every turn. The children thrive. They grow taller, healthier, happier. They call Alara to settle their disputes and kiss their scraped knees and listen to their dreams. She's not replacing their mother. She would never try. But she's building her own relationship with them. Alara's medical wing becomes renowned. She develops new protocols, trains staff, even begins researching ways to treat previously incurable vampire conditions. The journal Severin gave her fills with notes and discoveries. She finds her purpose, her power, her place. And through it all, she falls more in love with Severin, with his dry humor and hidden vulnerability, with the way he governs, firm but fair, with how he looks at her like she's his whole world. 5 months after she removed the silver fragments, Severin takes her to a private garden she's never seen before. It's beautiful, full of night-blooming flowers and a fountain that glows with bioluminescent light. This was Isadora's garden, he says quietly. She designed it. The children and I are the only ones who come here now. Alara realizes what he's doing, sharing this sacred space, inviting her into the last part of his life that remained closed off. It's beautiful. She would have liked you, I think. She always valued competence over pretty manners. He leads her to a bench. I want to show you something. He pulls out a small box, and Alara's heart starts racing. But when he opens it, it's not a ring. It's a brooch. Silver and emerald, shaped like a medical caduceus. This was commissioned for the first royal healer 600 years ago. It's been passed down through generations, always to the person who best served the royal family. He takes it out carefully. I'd like you to have it. Not as an engagement gift, that's coming, don't worry, but as recognition of what you are. The best healer this court has seen in centuries, someone who cares for her patients not as subjects, but as people. Alara's vision blurs with tears. Severin, it comes with a title, official recognition by the Grand Council, land grants, a permanent seat in medical discussions. He pins it to her dress carefully. But more than that, it's a symbol. You're not just my partner. You're part of this court's leadership in your own right. She touches the brooch with trembling fingers. All her life, she's been defined by relationships, daughter, wife, ex-wife, or by her failures, disgraced nurse, broke, desperate. This is different. This is recognition of who she is, what she can do, independent of anything else. Thank you, she whispers. Thank me by staying, by letting me give you the world. He takes her hands. Speaking of which, he drops to one knee, and Alara stops breathing. I had a whole speech planned. The children helped write it. There were going to be fireworks and a trained hawk to deliver the ring, but then I thought, this is better. Just us, in a place that means something. No politics, no performance, just truth. He pulls out another box. This one definitely contains a ring, a band of silver set with emeralds and diamonds that catches the moonlight. Alara Whitmore, you stormed into my life when I needed saving. You rescued my children from slow death, and me from slow despair. You're brilliant, brave, stubborn, kind, and you make me want to be worthy of you. I'm offering you everything I have, my throne, my children, my heart, my immortality if you want it. Will you marry me? Will you be my queen, and my partner, and my love? She's crying fully now, tears streaming down her face. Yes. God, yes. He slides the ring onto her finger. Perfect fit, because of course it is. Then he stands and kisses her, deep and sweet and full of promise. When they break apart, the garden has transformed. Fireworks explode overhead. Apparently the children couldn't resist, painting the sky in brilliant colors. The trained hawk swoops down, carrying a banner that reads, "She said yes," in childish handwriting. I thought you scrapped that plan, Ilara laughs. The children insisted. I couldn't say no. Severin grins. They're probably watching from the castle right now. Sure enough, when Ilara looks up, she can see 3 small faces pressed against a high window, jumping and waving excitedly. Her family. Her impossible, wonderful family. The wedding is planned for 2 months later, enough time to prepare something appropriately royal, but not so long that the court gets restless. Ilara is fitted for a dress that makes her look like moonlight in dreams. Invitations go out to vampire nobles across the realm. It should be intimidating. It is intimidating. But Ilara has learned to navigate court politics now. She has allies, Lady Vivian chief among them, and she has Severin, whose protection is absolute. The night before the wedding, Ilara sits with the children in the nursery. They're excited and nervous and full of questions. Will you still be Miss Ilara? Vivian asks. I'll be Queen Ilara officially, but you can call me whatever feels right. Can we call you Mama? Caspian's voice is small, uncertain. We know you're not our real Mama, but Ilara's heart clenches. If you want to, I would be honored, but there's no pressure. Your Mama will always be your Mama. I'm just an addition, not a replacement. Mama would like you, Lysander says seriously. She always said the best thing we could do was love people who love us back. Your Mama sounds very wise. They talk late into the night, these children and the woman who chose them. They share fears and hopes and memories. By the time Ilara tucks them into bed, she knows without question that she's making the right choice. The wedding day dawns clear and beautiful. Ilara stands in her chambers, wearing the moonlight dress, her red hair crowned with silver and emeralds. She looks like a vampire queen, even though she's still human, though that will change tonight, if she chooses. Severin has offered her the bite, offered her immortality, and she's decided to accept it, not because she has to, but because she wants forever with this family she's built. There's a knock at her door. When she opens it, Lady Vivian stands there in formal robes. Ready? The old vampire asks. Terrified. Good. That means you understand what you're taking on. Vivian adjusts Ilara's crown slightly. The court is full today. Every noble house in attendance. They're all watching to see if you'll falter. Comforting. Don't falter. Vivian's smile is sharp. Severin chose you because you're strong. Show them that strength. Walk in there like you own the place, because after today, you will. The ceremony is held in the grand hall, with hundreds of vampires in attendance. Ilara walks down an aisle lined with night-blooming flowers, her head held high. She can feel the stares, the calculations, the judgments. She doesn't care, because at the end of that aisle, Severin stands waiting. He's in formal black and silver, looking every inch the vampire king. But his eyes, those silver eyes she's come to love, are soft and warm and full of joy. The children stand with him, dressed in matching silver. They're bouncing with excitement, clearly struggling to maintain royal dignity. The ceremony itself is a blur of ancient vows and ritual. Severin speaks his promises in a voice that carries through the hall, to protect her, cherish her, stand with her through eternity. When it's Ilara's turn, she looks at him and speaks from the heart. I promise to stand beside you, not behind you, to be your partner in ruling and in life, to love your children as my own. to bring healing where there's pain and hope where there's despair. I promise to challenge you when you're wrong and support you when you're right. And I promise that no matter what comes, we'll face it together." Severin's smile could light up the darkness. The officiant pronounces them married, and the hall erupts in applause. Severin kisses her, properly, passionately, in front of the entire court. It's a claim and a celebration all at once. When they break apart, the children are there, hugging them both. Caspian is crying. Vivian is laughing. Lysander just holds on tight. "We're a family now," Vivian says. "Official." "We were always a family," Alara tells her. "This just makes it formal." The reception is elaborate, music and dancing, and more food than seems possible. Nobles come to offer congratulations and assess the new queen. Most are genuine. Some are calculating. Alara dances with Severin, with Lady Vivian, with each of the children. She makes conversation and remembers names and generally handles herself like she was born to this role. Because in a way, she was. Not born to royalty, but born to heal, to nurture, to fight for what matters. As midnight approaches, Severin pulls her aside. "Ready?" he asks quietly. She knows what he's asking. The bite, the change, the step into immortality. Yes. He leads her to their private chambers, a suite that's now theirs, not just his. The children have been settled with trusted servants for the night. It's just the two of them. "Are you sure?" Severin asks. "Once it's done, there's no going back." "I don't want to go back. I want forever with you, with them." She touches his face. "I'm sure." The bite is nothing like the horror stories suggest. Severin is gentle, careful, making it more pleasure than pain. His venom enters her bloodstream, and she can feel the change beginning. A warmth spreading through her body, reshaping her on a fundamental level. He holds her through it all, murmuring reassurances as her human life ends, and her vampire one begins. When she wakes 3 days later, the world is different. Sharper. Brighter. She can hear conversations from floors away. She can smell individual ingredients in the kitchen. She's stronger, faster, more. But she's still herself. Still Alara, with all her memories and feelings intact. Severin is sitting beside the bed, watching her with anxious eyes. "How do you feel?" She considers. Then she grins. Hungry, and ready to terrify the court by being an immortal queen who doesn't play by the old rules. His laugh is relieved and delighted. "That's my girl." The children burst in moments later, unable to wait any longer. They pile onto the bed, talking over each other, asking questions about what it's like to be vampire now. Alara holds them close and answers every question. Her family, her impossible, wonderful, eternal family. Later she stands on the balcony overlooking Thornwall Manor's grounds. The sun is setting. She can watch sunsets now without pain, one of the perks of being recently turned. Severin joins her, slipping an arm around her waist. "Any regrets?" he asks. "Not one." "Good. Because the council already has 17 complex political situations they want your input on." "Of course they do." They stand together, king and queen, watching the day end and the night begin. Somewhere in the castle, 3 children are arguing about bedtime. Somewhere, the court is already plotting and planning. But here, in this moment, there's just peace, just love, just the quiet knowledge that sometimes the most broken people find their way to the most beautiful endings. Alara thinks about the woman she was 6 months ago. Desperate, defeated, invisible. She thinks about how she came to this castle expecting nothing more than a paycheck and a place to hide. Instead, she found purpose. Power, family, love. She found home. "Thank you," she says to Severin. "For what?" "For seeing me. When I was invisible to everyone else." "You were never invisible." He pulls her closer. "You were just waiting for someone to look properly." "Well, you looked, and I'm never looking away." They kiss as the last light fades from the sky, two immortal beings at the beginning of forever. Behind them, the castle is alive with sound and light. Their children's laughter echoes through the halls. Their court bustles with activity. This is what they built from pain and silver fragments and dawn-time screams. A family, a kingdom, a love that will outlast centuries. And Alara Whitmore, once invisible, once broken, once dying in slow motion, is finally, beautifully, impossibly alive.